love for you guys to intro Project Fulcrum and what that means for Get Free, and what you're trying to get out of that.
It's really hard to watch at times, Andor, because of how potent and how timely and how similar a lot of what's happening in the show, the parallels between the Galactic Empire and the white supremacist faction and MAGA regime that we now face in the US and have faced off against throughout our own history in the US. They both use laws, lies, and violence to justify mass exploitation, segregation, and repression. And at the same time, we see in these stories heroes like Andor, like Mon. I'm excited we're going to be talking about Mon. I'm a fangirl of Mon. Bix, and so many others who in many ways are representations of our ancestors and of so many of us who are coming together and fighting for in our movements for a better future and fighting off against this faction and regime. And so it, yeah, as much as I enjoy it, it is something that I also felt compelled to organize around because for all of the fans that are watching this, whether they were in Star Wars or not, or whether they're organized or not, this is a moment and a time where we need to take a stand and fight. And so we made this Project Fulcrum out of Get Free to give a space for fans, especially young fans and fans of color, to come together and to take action every week. We'll get more into that about some of the fun components of this project, and ultimately to be a part of this movement in real life. I'll pass it to Natalie.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of plus the kind of ways that the Galactic Empire operates in Andor and Star Wars and the overlap with what we're seeing in our country right now. Before we started talking, I was kind of like taking some notes of all the different overlaps, whether it's, and this is not, any spoilers, but like whether it's like their spread of propaganda, whether it's how the ISB kind of has its hands in all the cookie jars throughout the empire and is kind of trying to create trouble everywhere it goes and kind of is operating as like a shadow government in a lot of ways. Whether it's like the suppression of speech, whether it is the suppression of political, like being politically outspoken, the culture of fear that people have. And yet, and those are a lot of things that we're seeing happen right now. But at the same time, Star Wars is also like, to me and to a lot of fans, the first introduction we had into like resisting fascism. Like this idea of resisting fascism, the first time I ever saw it was in Star Wars. And Andor, I think Andor season 2 really presents this really great opportunity for us to galvanize, all these people who are watching this Star Wars story about an anti-fascist rebellion and get them to see the parallels between what's going on in the Empire and what's going on here, to see the parallels between what's going on, or like to see the parallels between, the resistance and rebel leaders in Andor and kind of movement leaders that we've had in the United States and around the globe. And so I think that there's a really like great opportunity here to really like galvanize folks who are, watching Andor seasons 1 and 2 and really like intervene on the MAGA regime's attempts to, divide us and to actually organize for real equality and freedom. Because the parallels are, I mean, there's 1,000. It's really shocking how many there are, but I think there's also a lot of hope in that to see that against such a terrible, racist and violent regime that people were able to fight back. And we know that because we know how the story goes.